Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. That's Nick. I'm Theo. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. Today, we finish up the AFC as we dive into the AFC West. You can find us over on Twitter at draftedup_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff. You can find us, search Drafted Up Podcast. Nick, how you doing on this fine Sunday night?
Not too bad. Had a little bit too much to drink last night, so we're recovering today.
Sounds horrible when you're as old as me. I had like 6 beers and I went to bed. I felt okay, and then woke up with like the worst heartburn.
Oof, rough. Luckily, no hangover. Somehow, miracle. I don't know.
That's good.
Someone's watching over this guy right here.
Yeah. I won tickets to a Phillies game today.
Whoa, hey,
yeah,
yo.
But like the game started at 1:35. I won the tickets at 12, and I'm like, I can't feasibly try to make this happen today.
Oh, you won them for a game today?
Today, yeah.
That seems pretty weird.
Yeah, so I ended up not going. I couldn't find anybody to go with.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to just give away tickets for a game an hour away from when you gave them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like a Philly podcast company that had I answered a trivia question. I didn't realize the tickets for today, or I wouldn't have answered the question.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What'd you win them on? Like what? How did you
Twitter.
win them? Oh, okay.
Twitter. Yeah, it was just like a question like, this Philly won 18 games in his first 3 seasons. He started his career as a Philly, and after those 3 years didn't played within the last 15 years. And I'm like, oh, that's definitely Vance Worley, and that's who the answer was.
Interesting. Way to go.
Baseball talk here on the podcast. That's it. No more baseball. Baseball. Yeah. But today, AFC West, finishing up the AFC, and then we'll dive into the NFC next week.
Yes, sir.
Be a little more exciting, a lot of more depth in the NFC in my eyes. AFC is real top heavy with just like some filler teams here and there, as you'll see in this division. We'll just start off with the defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs.
The big dogs.
Last season finished 11-6. They have minus 230 to win the division with a projected win total of 11.5. That's obviously first.
Mm-hmm.
You got your stars. You got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He's our quarterback 3. He's currently going 308 on Sleeper. You got Isaiah Pacheco at running back. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is there, but he's got no fantasy relevance.
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon, no longer there. Pacheco, he's going as the RB10 at the 305. The Chiefs had the 19th ranked rushing attack last year. And then there's the more open area, and that's the receiving game.
Definitely.
Sans Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, he's our tight end 1. He's going at the 212 turn.
Mm-hmm.
We got Rashee Rice, who's my wide receiver 32. He's going at 6'11". Xavier Worthy, he's going at wide receiver 59. Or he's my wide receiver 59. He's going to the 704. And then Hollywood Brown, who's injured, of course, he's going at the 803. He's my wide receiver 65. But pretty well like the order's obviously Rice, Worthy, Brown if you're drafting a Chiefs receiver. But how do you view the Kansas City Chiefs fantasy wise? Like it's a no brainer. it's one of those teams where where everything's pretty much filtered.
I love all the guys pretty much at even their ADPs. I love Mahomes going as quarterback like 4-3. It depends on wherever he's like switched with Lamar, even Stroud sometimes. I'm cool with that. I love Pacheco's ADP. I think he's going to finish around where he's being drafted. He's not going to finish lower than that. Rashee Rice, it doesn't look like he's going to be suspended, I would assume at this point. He hasn't even been talked to. So at this point, you're getting a guy he was great last year in the back end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelce, I love Kelce always. He's super safe. He's definitely the safest tight end in football. Even fantasy wise, he did have a bit of a struggle per se last year. He still finished with 900 yards. I don't think it's going to be less than that. I do think it could be above that again, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, even with the bad year per se from Travis Kelce, it's more reflective of ADP. Like last year, he was going top 7 in drafts. And it didn't pay off, but he still was tied for first in points per game amongst the tight end position. So he was still productive. It just wasn't like the outlier years that we were used to for Travis Kelce, where he was far and away the best tight end. Now he kind of falls to the pack, and everyone's a little more bunched up there with Laporta, him, Mark Andrews, those guys all going similarly, which is fine by me. I would take any of them at where they're going. Rashee Rice, obviously the suspension still looms, like it could happen mid-season, so like that's baked into his ADP. But like, if you could guarantee, like if the NFL came out like, hey, we're not suspending Rashee Rice this year, where do you think you'd have him rank wide receiver wise?
I would probably have him as like a 4th or 5th round pick. I don't know where that would rank just off the top of my head, but I'd put him around guys like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, around that range. So like a 3rd, 4th.
So you're looking at like a high end wide receiver too.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he could be a wide receiver 1 quite yet.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think he's going to be the alpha in the receiver room. I'm not huge on Worthy. I'm all completely out on Hollywood. He got like sent to the hospital or whatever the hell happened to him. I'm completely out on Hollywood. But Rice, though, I'm in. Even if he ends up being suspended, I don't think it's going to be like half the season, or it's going to be like 3 or 4 games. So you're going to have him probably to start the season and for the playoffs if it does happen midseason.
Yeah. If he wouldn't be, he would probably linger around like receiver 17 to 21 for me, in that range. Like a mid to high end wide receiver 2. But like, I don't think he falls out of the top 24 if he plays all year. Like he's that talented. I agree. He's the alpha. He's going to get the bulk of the target share from the receiving room. Worthy's going to get the big play opportunities, and I like taking a shot on Xavier Worthy just because, you know, he could come out week 1 and have 4 targets and have 1 catch for 70 yards and a touchdown. He provides so much big play upside. Like, it's volatile, but you want a piece there of the Patrick Mahomes offense. Like I think Patrick Mahomes being undervalued just based off last year having a bad year per se, fantasy wise. I think he could bounce back this year easily. Like it wouldn't surprise me if Patrick Mahomes leads the league in passing yards this season.
Yeah, it all falls on touchdowns. I think Kelsey's touchdowns are going to go up a little bit. Rashee Rice, if he plays the whole year, he's 2nd-year receiver. His stats are all going to go up, every single one of them. And then Xavier Worthy does add a huge touchdown aspect to Mahomes' game, to where he's not going to get a ton of catches, but could get a ton of touchdowns. So if Mahomes ends up with 35 touchdowns, he's going to be right at his ADP.
Yeah. So, yeah, Pacheco's the only guy we really didn't touch base on. You like his floor and ceiling. Like I think you're getting, like, we have him at RB10. He's going as like the RB12 right now. And I don't think he falls past that. Like, just workload wise, he's getting like, I don't see anyone touching into his share of carries. Like, I know they're working out Kadarius Toney at running back. Like, they're just trying to find a place for that dude. Like, sure, he could play the Jerick McKinnon role, but he's not going to be effective at it.
I mean, moving him to running back would make a ton of sense because that dude can't catch shit, dude. As a Giants fan, I watched him play for me. I'm glad we shipped him off. But no one's taking Pacheco's touches, and it's no one, unless they bring Jet back in at some point, which is a viable thing they could do. They could just bring him in mid-season even, and he already knows the system. But Pacheco, he's going around guys like White, Cook, Devon A-Chain's going a little bit before him. Him and Devon, I would take like back-to-back. I'm very comfortable with both of those guys at this point. And like you said, the workload he's going to get in Kansas City, he's going to be eating it up. So, yeah, he's super safe.
Yeah, and Andy Reid's been praising him. Like, they've asked, like, oh, what's the plan in your running back room in terms of, like, who's going to handle, like, the passing work? And he's like, oh, we love Pacheco's ability to catch the ball. So that's great to hear from Andy Reid, because Andy Reid's the best coach at making plays for his players. And if he's out here raving about Pacheco as a pass catcher, I think that just makes him even more valuable. Or like, I'm willing to take him in the second round with the way Andy Reid's talking about him. And some platforms you see that, like ESPN and Yahoo, Pacheco's going in the second, whereas Sleeper, he's going in the third. Like, the second might be a little more rich, but I'm content taking it depending on like who else is there. Like, if running backs go early, like if you have multiple running backs go your first round, like say the big 5 or 6, I'm cool going Pacheco in the second.
Yeah, it depends on, like you said, how the first round falls running back wise. But he is like a late second, third guy. I'm comfortable taking him there. He did have 49 targets last year and 44 receptions, which was a great improvement from his rookie season where he had 14 targets. So like you see them move, like using him more in every aspect of the game. So I think his third year is going to be a super boom.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the less exciting teams in this division. The first one up, the Las Vegas Raiders. Last season went 8-9. Currently at plus 900 over on DraftKings to win the division. F has a third place finish, a projected win total of 6.5. Today they named their starting quarterback. I've had both guys listed here in our doc, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, but it is Gardner Minshew, which makes me a little more content with the receiving room in Vegas. Like it shows before, like I'm well lower on Devontae Adams than ADP and you. So I do like it more with Minshew. And my worry was O'Connell was going to be the starter, and I don't want any part of the passing game. Other receivers, they were 23rd in passing last year. Jacoby Myers is there, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. That's pretty much it. Trey Tucker's the 3, but I don't see any sort of relevance for him, even though like they're trying to get him big plays involved. Like he got a little bit involvement last year, more use when Antonio Pierce took over. So maybe they try taking shots with him, but like it's going to be few and far between. So you're really narrowed down to 3. I wouldn't even include Michael Mayer as like a fantasy option. Like he's going to be on the field a ton, but like I don't think he gets any sort of target share.
With Brock Bauer being there, I think Bauer's gonna play more out of the receiving role. So I think Mayer's gonna be like a blocking tight end. He's gonna be like a 6th offensive lineman, but he's gonna end up getting a couple targets per game. But like you said, he's not gonna be very fantasy relevant. Trey Tucker, he's gonna have a couple big plays here and there throughout the season, like he did last year, but again, not fantasy relevant. I don't think it helps Devontae Adams at all, to be honest. I think he stays the exact same in my eyes. Aiden O'Connell hyper-targeted Adams last season, so it would have happened again. But Minshew's a better fantasy quarterback for sure for Myers, Bowers. Those guys are going to be at way more targets now with a quarterback that can second read, third read, look through options, where Aiden O'Connell was. It's going to Devontae Adams, and if it's not, it's a sack.
Yeah, so like we have Adams at wide receiver 16. He's currently going mid-second round. We have Bowers as our tight end 12. He's going in the 7th, which does seem a little rich, but with Minshew, I'm more comfortable taking him in the 7th round. Like I think Minshew makes Bowers more productive. Like he can kind of play that Michael Pittman role where it's just like short passes and then Bowers just yaks his way to 20 yards on a screen pass. He's got that athleticism to him. Myers, I think he'll be fine. He's going into 12th round right now. I'm content taking a shot there. He had a bunch of touchdowns last year. And Michael Mayer, like we said, no real fantasy relevance really here in Vegas. So that leaves the run game. They lost Josh Jacobs. They were the 30th ranked rushing team in football last year. And it's Zamir White, who filled in for Josh Jacobs last year, looked great. And all they did this year was bring in Alexander Mattison to back him up, who was horrific in Minnesota last year.
As
0 touchdowns.
As a starter.
Yes. Yeah. So we have Zamir White as our RB20. He's going in the end of the 7th round. How are we feeling about him? We still there with him when we did our running back preview? I've actually faded him a bit. Like he's outside my top 24 now.
I've also faded back a little bit on like him and like Zach Moss, like these running backs that are like half season workloads last season and they come in this year. I think they all kind of like fall back to the Devin Singletary range. I like at the 9th, I would be comfortable taking all of them. So they're not huge make or break picks at that point. But I think White has a chance to be the best out of like the 3 of like those guys. But
that's because he's got nobody. Like Alexander Madison's not. Like,
yeah.
Like Zach Moss has Chase Brown, who might be the starter. Tyrone Tracy's looked great so far in camp and the little bit of preseason he got. And I've said it before on the pod. It wouldn't surprise me if Tracy takes over for Singletary.
I don't know if he'll end up taking over, but he's going to take a lot of the catching aspect of it because he's a former receiver. But we also did bring in Joshua Kelly, former Chargers running back, as a camp body pretty much because Tracy's been down. So it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to have another running back. It's going to be Gray or Kelly on the team. I think it'll be Gray. I agree. He's looked really good. So I think there's just going to be carries going around here and there a little bit everywhere. But White, that's what we're talking about. Zamir White. He has a chance to be good for sure. But I'm not sold completely like I was. 3
No,
weeks
no,
ago.
I see him as like a bigger Rashad White. Like he's not an effective runner. Like I don't think he's going to average more than like 3.5 yards per carry, but he provides less work out of the backfield than Rashad White does. Like Rashad White can be ineffective. Like he can average 3.25 yards per carry
Yeah, but he's
because
getting
he
the
gets
catches.
85 targets.
Yeah,
Whereas like Zamir White's not going to have that sort of target share
no.
because like you got to get Devontae Adams his, you got to get Jacoby Myers his, you got to get Brock Bowers theirs. Like, and that's Minshew's not going to look for Zamir White. He's going to look for Brock Bowers if he's going to dump off, or he's just going to try to just force it into Devontae Adams. Like, I just don't see Zamir White getting any sort of passing game work, which ultimately is going to hurt him in PPR, half PPR leagues.
I couldn't agree more. He had 19 targets for 15 receptions and 98 yards, receiving yards last year. there was games Rashad White had 98 receiving yards in a game.
Yeah.
He was crazy out of the backfield with catching. I don't think the catching aspect's there at all for Zamir White. And I actually think Alexander Madison's a really good change of pace back. He's a way better backup than he is starter. He did it in Minnesota behind Cook, where he looked really good as a backup. And then it's the same thing with White. These guys getting chances to start and they don't thrive. So White could easily be Alexander Madison this year. I'm not saying he's gonna be, but I think Alexander Madison kind of eats away at the workload more than people think it's going to.
It's kind of crazy how similar like the Zamir White situation. Like Zamir White, solid backup behind Josh Jacobs, thrived when he got the chance to start, and now he's starting just like Alexander Madison did, and Alexander Madison happens to be his backup, so it's kind of ironic there. The Raiders, I've been down on them. I'm a little more content, like I said, with Adams and the receiving or with Minshew, but I still think this is just going to be a bad offense. I think it's a team that's going to have a great defense, and they're just going to get 17 points, and their games are going to be like 20-17 every week. I just don't see a lot of fantasy production coming from this squad.
They had an elite level defense when Pierce took over last year. They were really good. So they're going to keep other offenses opposed to where their offense isn't going to have to put up these huge numbers to stay in games.
Yep.
So
I think it's going to be ugly football.
You said their win total was 6.5 projected?
Yeah.
I think they beat that though. I really do. I really like Pierce as a coach.
Yeah.
I
could see that. I could see them getting 7 wins, but I
could see him 8 wins.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I forgot to do my Chiefs bold prediction. My Chiefs bold prediction was that Patrick Mahomes breaks the passing yards record.
That's a lot of yards.
Yeah, and then for Vegas, it is Devontae Adams has a career low in every stat if he's healthy, like healthy years. So I'm not talking about like the years where he wasn't healthy, like because like there was a season where he had like 600 yards. He's gonna have more than that. Like I have him right now, like barely over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. I just see, I think it's coming. The receivers just kind of fall. Like there's no ever window for them, like running backs where like you see it. Receivers, you don't. It just happens.
Devontae Adams is different, dude. He is like the elite of the elite receivers.
So was Randy Moss, and it happened to him.
Adams is like a route runner, though. Moss was like deep threat, big body, catching. Devontae Adams can run every single route. His separation's crazy. He just knows how to get open.
I know, but I just see I don't even know if it's gonna be a talent. I think it's just gonna be an offensive issue.
I don't. Then they trade him. There's no way he sits through that. He would not do that. He almost called for it last year. He'll get dipped if the offense is that bad.
Oh, I'm sure. It wouldn't surprise me if he is. If Vegas is bad come the trade deadline, it wouldn't surprise me if Adams is shipped off.
I'm in on Adams regardless. Even if it's a bad offense, he's going to get hyper targeted by whatever quarterback, even if Minshew gets benched. I love Devontae Adams. His ADP is a little high, I will admit that, but he's super safe. I don't think he's going to fall much past that.
Yeah, you're drafting him at his ceiling. I don't like that.
I mean,
even last year, he was drafted as wide receiver 8. He finished as wide receiver 11, and he
that was half PPR. His PPR, he finished as wide receiver 10.
Yeah, well,
and the year before that, 3, 2, 1, 3.
Yeah, but he had Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers those years before that. I just don't see it continuing with the way Antonio Pierce wants to run the offense. I just think it's going to be inefficient targets.
Even the way they ran it last year, he was on pace for like 190 some targets when Pierce took over.
And there was games where he had one catch, despite the hyper target. Like I just don't see the way he wants to run the offense working with Devontae Adams' stat line. Like I think this team is going to be last in the league in passing yards per game. Like I just don't see a effective offense at all.
No, I don't see that. I think they'll be fine. And again, if they are that bad, he will demand a trade, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Next team, that's the Denver Broncos, who last season finished 8-9.
Mm-hmm.
They are plus 1,800 to win the division, which is 4th, with a projected win total of 5.5. No starting quarterback as of now. Jared Stidham started the first game, and he looked horrible. Bo Nix looked really good. Zach Wilson looked fine. Bo Nix started the second game. So I would say that leans us towards Bo Nix is probably this team's starting quarterback.
Bo Nix is definitely the starting quarterback, as he should be.
And then the running back room is full. A very full running back room. Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Samaje Perine. They even got Blake Watson, who they gave like the most money for an undrafted player that you can provide. So like that tells me they really like that guy, so he might make the team. So like, and the nonsense reports that Javonte Williams is on the bubble, I don't buy that whatsoever.
No, I've never bought those to begin with. They're insane reports.
Yeah, 18th ranked rushing attack last year, but Sean Payton running backs do produce. They get a lot of work. Javonte Williams had like 48 catches last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaleel McLaughlin had a ton of targets when he got into play towards the back stretch of the year. So like whoever the running backs are going to be demanding to catch the ball, they're going to get targeted, whether it's Estime, Perine, McLaughlin, Williams, Watson. Like you got to catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you see like who? I think Perine's the man out, like just because he's older.
I don't know. I would assume they're going to have 4 backs on this team. Estime's going to be one of them. Javante's going to be one of them. McLaughlin's going to be one of them. And then it's Samaje, Watson. It's to be honest, I don't want any of them besides Javonte. I'll throw a dart at McLaughlin maybe, but
I love Jaleel McLaughlin. I
would rather just get like more like Dontavius Wicks at that point in the draft. There are other guys I would rather throw a target at. I think Javante's going to end up being like the guy in this backfield. I think he's super talented. He can catch the ball extremely well. He's a great runner when healthy. He's 2 years removed from this injury. I think he's going to have some type of burst back in his game where he didn't have that last year.
Yeah, so he's going in the mid 8th round. Jaleel McLaughlin's going 15th round, so last round of your drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Javante's talented. Like I said, I think the reports this past offseason have just been nonsense, blown out of the water. I think he's great value at his ADP. Like I have him just right outside my running back 2, so he's my RB26 currently. And I have McLaughlin at RB36. Like I'm actually fine with either of these guys. Like I don't buy into Estime or Perine or Watson really being involved unless there's an injury. Like I know people are just like, I would take a flyer on Audric Estime, and I'm like, I like maybe in a dynasty league, sure, but
yeah,
not redraft. I'd rather just go somewhere else. But I think we can agree we don't really want any of the wide receiver tight end room.
Cortland Sutton occasionally falls to like the 9th, and I'm cool taking him as like a bench player.
His current ADP is the 10th.
Is he? I thought he goes in the 9th.
I just have I don't think there's any sort of ceiling with Cortland Sutton. Like last year was a huge outlier. You're getting 10 touchdowns.
Well, that's
before that he had 14 touchdowns in his whole career.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be the guy that he could push 1,000 yards out of that whole offense if any of the receivers do. I don't think any of the receivers are going to take targets away from him. He's like the one receiver there.
Yeah. So the other receivers, Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, Troy Franklin, and then tight end room, we're looking at Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, pass. Marvin Mims might be okay if they can end up scheming him like they should, but they didn't last year, so why would I have faith in it this year?
Marvin Mims started the first preseason game, the first play, and then didn't come back into like the fourth drive. Like
exactly.
I don't know what Sean Payton's deal is with, like, he traded up for this dude. It was the first pick Sean Payton made as the Broncos head coach, and like he's real explosive, real dangerous with the ball in his hands. Like he's a good return man, but like I feel like Denver's just like, oh yeah, we just got this guy. Like we don't know what to do with him though.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because Sean Payton is like the king of scheming people open. And Marvin Mims is that kind of player. And it's shown last year. He had crazy games, a couple here and there. And then they just don't use him that next week.
No.
It's so weird, dude. I don't get it.
His utilization shot. Like I love Marvin Mims as a prospect. Like I liked him coming out. Like I think he's real explosive. I think if he got regular playing time, he could be a effective flex bench guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just don't see it being any sort. Like I just don't see him being on the field all the time. Because like Sean Payton, like,
I agree.
Like how long till Mike Thomas is on this team?
Oh, you shut up. Because
like,
hopefully Troy Franklin ends up getting onto the field at some point.
The slant god, Mike Thomas. Like, could Josh Reynolds end up being the guy? Like Josh Reynolds, he works the middle of the field. Could he be the Mike Thomas of this offense? And fucking Sean Payton's gonna love him.
But Josh Reynolds is a huge locker room guy. He's greatly missed in Detroit. I think he's gonna be great in Denver. Not great, but like a team wise, great. I think Bo Nix is going to love him. Bo Nix is just going to love. I think Cortland Sutton's going to be fine. Hopefully, Troy Franklin ends up getting on the field. I don't think it's going to happen early. But when he does, I hope to God he takes advantage of that and they can kind of connect with it in college. It'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Troy Franklin ends up in that Marvin Mims role this year where, like, his utilization is so all over the place. Like, one game he's out there for 50% of the time and he's getting targets, and the next week he plays 10% of the snaps.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with like Greg Dulcich. I liked him as a prospect, but it doesn't seem like Sean Payton has any use for this guy. Like he got hyped up, got hurt, and now he's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still feed in Adam Troutman. So like I'm out on the Denver passing. I'm essentially I only want the two running backs. I don't want anything to do with the quarterbacks or the receiving game. Just Javonte Williams, I like him in his ADP. I like Jaleel McLaughlin in his ADP. I just think Denver's going to be really bad, just like Oakland. I think it's going to be an ineffective offense with a really good defense.
I think Oakland's going to be way better than Denver. But I think Bo Nix ends up being really good. Like you've seen the way he ran the offense when he was in the preseason. He looked like a guy that played 1,000 college games. It really showed that he's been in college for 13 years. But he just knows how to run a team. He did everything super well. And he's the
perfect Sean Payton quarterback.
Exactly. You see what Sean Payton knew what he needed, and he got it in Bo Nix.
Yeah, he's end of career Drew Brees with mobility.
His arm's better than that. That's crazy. His arm's perfectly fine.
Well, no, his style. He's a short guy. He prefers to work the field and can dunk. That's what I'm saying. That play style. His arm is better than end of career Drew. My arm's better than end of career Drew Brees, and my arms are shit.
Yeah, Bo Nix knows how to step onto a field and scheme pick apart a defense, and it's gonna super shine in Denver, I think.
Yeah. My bold prediction for this team was that Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams are both RB2s at the end of the year.
In the top 24? That's crazy.
Yeah. PPR format, because I think McLaughlin could get a ton of targets.
I agree, but I don't think Devontae's still going to get the targets. Like, he's still going to have almost 50 receptions because that's what Sean Payton does with the starting running backs.
Yeah, I mean, but Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, they were two guys. They were both top 24 guys with Sean Payton. I think that's a similar situation here.
Yeah, but Javonte has elite catching skills where Mark Ingram did not. Like, Javonte can catch a football. Mark Ingram cannot catch. He's just a bruiser, dude. Old bowling ball back there.
Those Saints teams were good times.
Oh, yeah, dude. Fucking Darren Sproles, dude. Those Saints teams were elite, bro.
Yeah. All right. Final team in this division. The Los Angeles Chargers. New head coach. They got Harbaugh. Last season, 5-12. They're currently plus 320 to win the division, which is second. Projected win total of 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert, the quarterback. He's our quarterback 15. He's going the 11th round. He's got this foot injury, so he's going to play. So we'll see how that is. But Greg Roman and Harbaugh, they want to run the ball. Like, they want to be a heavy run team. So that leads to Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins being fantasy relevant now. They were the 25th ranked rushing team last year. That's going to change. They're probably going to be a top 10 running team. Gus Edwards is going as the RB35, or he's our RB35. He's going 10th round, mid 10th round. J.K. Dobbins is my RB47. He's going at the end of the 13th. You content with either of these guys? Like, I think they're both fine at their ADP. Like, I think Dobbins could take over Edwards, like, if he's healthy, just based off, like, explosive play rate. Like, Gus isn't going to give you big plays. He's going to just wear down a defense.
I'm out on both of their running backs.
Okay.
Gus Edwards had 13 touchdowns last year, and he didn't even have 200 fantasy points. Like, I don't even know how that math is physically possible, dude.
Because he doesn't catch the ball.
Exactly. So he's essentially useless. And J.K. Dobbins, that guy, he can't stay healthy. And even if he does, I don't think he's going to produce extremely well. He's not going to get the red zone carries. That's going to be Gus Edwards. So he's not going to get the touchdowns. And I don't think he's going to be efficient enough to get any of the other work. And then Gus Edwards is just Gus Edwards. He's good for 800 yards, and he's not going to have the 13 touchdowns. This is not going to happen. So I'm kind of out because, like, I would rather just like Curtis Samuel, Christian Watson, Singletary, Jonathan Brooks. They're all going around Gus Edwards, and I think all those guys have way higher ceilings than Gus Edwards. So
then are you just out in general on all the Chargers? Are you in on the passing game?
No. Okay. I'm out on the Chargers.
All right, so receiving game-wise, we're looking at Joshua Palmer. We're looking at Ladd McConkey. We're looking at Quentin Johnston. They got DJ Shark. Tight ends, I'll just say their names. Not even going to talk about them after that. It's Hayden Hurst, Will Dissly. No, thank you.
Yeah, pass.
You're not. It's a room that's splitting 70 targets together at most, and it's going to be ineffective stuff. So I'm out on Shark and QJ. I just don't want Quentin Johnston. I don't want DJ Shark.
I'm 100% out on those two. I'm like 80% out on the Ladd based off his ADP. I think he's going a little bit too early.
His current ADP on Sleeper is 805. I have him as my wide receiver 42. We did a draft yesterday over on Yahoo, and Ladd went in like the 10th round. So, like, again, that's platform stuff. Check out your ADPs.
Yeah. And then Joshua Palmer is the only receiver I would half-ass think about taking on this team. I think he's going to be the one. I don't think his ceiling's high, but I think his floor is really safe as like a bench player. You could kind of start him in flex spots here and there. When he plays, you see the big burst that he has. He's a decent receiver. He just needs to stay healthy, and he just needs to get the volume, which I think he can now since there's just dog shit around him.
I love Joshua Palmer. He's 24, still young. He feels like he's 30. Like, I feel like the Joshua Palmer thing we've been talking about him for years. But last year, he got a decent amount of playing time because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams couldn't stay healthy. Mm-hmm. When both those guys weren't on the field, Josh Palmer's like 17 game span was like 1,300 yards. And then when one of them was on the field with him, his 17 game span would have been like 1,100 yards. So he's the only one with familiarity to Justin Herbert. Even with the style of offense, like the Greg Roman offense has still produced like a flex wide receiver and Harbaugh. So like I think Josh Palmer's that. Like, I'm in at the 13th round, getting a guy who could be a wide receiver too, but but at worst a strong flex guy. I'm in on Josh Palmer. I'm buying it. I'm taking it. I'm bullet. And my bold prediction for them was Josh Palmer has 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Quite the season. That's like a Nico Collins season last year.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be that. I think his ceiling's kind of like 900, 1,000 yards and like 6 touchdowns, which is great for a 13th round pick. Like, that's great. So at that point, throw the shot at Josh Palmer. Like I said, I like Ladd as a prospect. I just think he's going way too early on Sleeper. I don't know how many receivers are going to be viable in this offense. They're not going to be passing.
He's also got injury concerns.
100%, yeah.
He was injured in college, and he's already been hurt this year in camp. So, like, that does worry me.
Yeah. But Josh Palmer was also hurt last year, I'm pretty sure. I think he missed like 6 or 7 games in a row.
So that I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was hurt last year.
Everyone was hurt on the Chargers, though.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of seems like it's already continuing with Vlad being a little bit banged up, Herbert having the foot thing. It also breaks my heart that they just didn't bring back Gerald Everett. He's a great streaming option, and when he was with the Chargers, and now he's just backing up with the Bears, and it just doesn't make sense. He could have easily been the starting tight end here. He would have been a great streaming option, like he's always been.
We would have been talking about their tight ends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he would have been great for streaming, but now we just got dog shit up in here.
Yeah. Palmer did only play 10 games last year.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought he was hurt.
So the Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to be a really good football team. I just don't know. Like I think like fantasy wise, like this division is a fantasy muck. Besides the Chiefs, in my eyes, like
100%.
I don't want a lot of Charger shares. Like I do end up taking Josh Palmer a ton if I can get him, just because like I think he's just good value. Mm-hmm. I don't want a ton of Raiders shares. I don't really want the Broncos, even though I do end up targeting Javonte and Jaleel McLaughlin. But like I wouldn't mind cutting those guys early. Like I'm not going to be attached to any of those players that aren't Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yeah, for sure. If these guys aren't performing come like week 3 or 4, just cut ties with them. And that's pretty much everyone on the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Like, see what they are week 1 and 2, see how they fit into the offense, and if they're not producing, you are not tied to these guys. Dip them, pick up waiver claims, move on with them, because none of these guys are really league winners in my eyes, except the Chiefs guys. Mm-hmm. And well, Devontae Adams as well. Don't cut ties with Devontae Adams after week 2. That would be insane.
You could trade Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
He's got name value. Yeah. All right. How do you see this division panning out?
The Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos.
Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. Yep. Same. Yeah, I think this one's pretty chalk. Yeah, you think the Raiders could win 7 games? I don't. I think I would bet the under on them.
I think they can go 7 or 8. I think the Chargers are right there with. Oh, their defense is gonna be great. And that's why
the Raiders defense, they might be their best fantasy option.
They finished, I'm pretty sure, in like the top 7 or 8 last year. The defensive scoring is obviously all over the place in different leagues.
We don't talk about defense. Denver's defense too in fantasy, probably one worth having as well. They got a ton of players. Chargers defense, no thank you. But here's the thing: like the Chargers offense could be really good. Like I think we've gone like the pendulum swung too far. Where like no, the Chargers aren't gonna. They're going to pass the ball 15 times a game, like everyone said. Like, they're going to run a ton. Happen. They're going to pass a normal amount of times. An elite quarterback. It's just he doesn't have any sort of consistent options, and I think that's where it wouldn't surprise me if he just spreads the ball to everybody. And Justin Herbert is just effective as a fantasy quarterback, and like none of the weapons are worthwhile at all.
That's kind of how it seemed, because like even DJ Shark's getting looks with the first team and second team. Like, these receivers are all floating around with these spots. It's looking like Huge isn't going to start, but shit, he might. And then their tight end, like we brought up, there's 2 of them that are going to eat away at each other's targets. They're not going to be huge targets, but they made each other irrelevant. So you're looking at just all of these guys, and we have no idea how the targets are going to go. So once again, after week 2, if your guy that you picked on the Chargers isn't getting the targets, move on.
Yeah. Or even, like, I think all 3 of those teams, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, they're teams to watch on waiver wires as well. Like if you're if you don't draft any of them and like you see the guys who weren't drafted break out, I would throw money at them.
Yeah. Like if Denver ends up using Marvin Mims a ton, or even Troy Franklin right off the bat, go pick them up.
Yeah. My mindset with those teams are like wait and watch and pick up on waiver. Like I said, I would draft Javonte, I would draft Jaleel McLaughlin, I would draft Joshua Palmer. I would take Ladd McConkey if he was going later, but I'm not shooting for the upside with him like I am the other rookie receivers.
Yeah, there's other rookie receivers I'd rather call the shot with, because I know what they're going to be in their offense for the most part, where I don't know how the Chargers offense is going to roll at all. So it's just a whole toss-up.
All right. Oh, this is a short episode, y'all. 40 minutes. This is not much to talk about with these
not
teams.
Much to talk about. Yep.
Yeah. Like, we probably should have just talked about the Chiefs the whole podcast. All right.
Yeah.
Next up will be the NFC North. my division. Way more exciting. We'll talk about the Bears. We'll talk about the Lions. We'll talk about the Packers. We'll talk about the Vikings.
The
So that'll be
injury-prone Vikings.
the everything. It's been, yeah. We'll dive into that. I will try to
Yes,
make it
sir.
as short as possible with the Vikings because I could probably just rant for an hour about how this offseason's been. There we go. Chiefs.
Tune in next week. TJ might cry.
Yeah. Yeah, I might. TJ might not be here.
I'll talk to Vikings. I'll talk to Vikings. I got it.
We'll have a fill-in host, and I'll just kind of feed them notes by proxy. There we go. AFC West in the books. Kind of a lackluster division. Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers. Not a ton of fantasy relevance that isn't Kansas City. It's a lot of trying to call your shot, and those aren't teams I want to call my shot on.
Yeah, they're not worth it. They're not like the elite offenses that you try to hook yourself to, like the Packers, Miami, Houston, Cincinnati. So like Cincinnati, that's
Arizona.
Like low key Arizona. Yeah, for sure. There's a ton of talent on Arizona.
Dolphins West, baby.
Yeah, those teams. No. But all those teams have like talent to go around where these teams are just like, we don't even know what the hell they're going to have.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknowns, and these are the ones you're going to have to watch and then work your waiver wires. Like, these aren't the teams I'm going to call a shot on and be like, I'm going to call my shot on that guy.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. AFC. The whole AFC's in the books. Before we end, who's your AFC championship game?
The Chiefs, Baltimore.
Chiefs, Baltimore?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go chalk again. I'm pretty sure that was last year, 2 years ago.
I'm going Kansas City, Cincinnati.
Fair enough.
And the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl.
I'm a big fan that none of us picked the Bills because
I like
Miami.
the Bills.
Miami would have been fun. Miami, Kansas City, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
but that shit has to be in Miami if they do that. Miami, that's the problem with Miami. You put them on the road, dude, they're kind of fucked.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's like a dome road.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah, but bad weather Miami. But yeah, going Bengals. Bengals are my AFC Super Bowl representative. They beat the Chiefs again.
I'll take the Chiefs. I'll go chalk with the Chiefs.
I'll go chalk. I'm in on Slim Burrow, the blonde hair. Yeah, I'm about it. Yeah, Bengals back to the Super Bowl. Those all orange uniforms. Yeah, it's gonna be a nice year for Cincinnati.
Could be.
Houday. But AFC, like we've talked, it's a lot of top heavy stuff. The middle teams are kind of there.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Miami though make a run. Even I would also like to see Buffalo. I know you're a Buffalo hater for some reason, but Josh Allen's so much fun.
Josh Allen's great. I love Josh Allen. I just don't like his receivers this year.
All right, AFC in the books. You got our AFC Championship game, a little bonus there, and our Super Bowl reps. We'll do the same thing when we finish the NFC West, and then we'll give our Super Bowl prediction. All right, guys, there it is. Follow us over on Twitter at @draftedup_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, word of mouth, tell a friend, do it all. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Just search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. We're always there for you guys. And thank you as always for listening. Adios.
Bye.